All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Close. We are starting a bit early today. And the reason we're starting early is because I am headed to Boston after the close. So we're going to be ending a bit early at around like that 4:30, 4:45 time. And so we're starting about 15 minutes earlier. In terms of the markets, folks, it's like it doesn't even feel like Trump said what he said this morning. If you missed what he said this morning, he said, hey, I want to tariff the EU by 50%. Markets were down like 1.5% when he said it. And now no one cares. I mean, or at least the market doesn't seem like it cares. S&P down 0.5%. Okay, it is what it is. Not that bad. Tessie's at 340. Hood's at 63. Rock Lab's 25. Nvidia's 131. Palantir's 124. Palantir's actually green 1.5% of the day. I mean, realistically, in the morning, it kind of felt like, oh my God, are we here again? Do we have to deal with this? And as we are now ending out the day, which is kind of what I think most of us felt in the morning, which is that, hey, this is probably a nothing burger. Like the market's just tired of reacting to this stuff. It feels like it's starting to become more of a nothing burger. So isn't this really bullish? Yeah, I would say this is kind of bullish, dude. The fact that Trump can threaten 50% tariffs on the entire EU and, you know, kind of make you feel like, oh, is this another moment where he goes 145% against China? And the market basically says, don't really care. You know, it's like, it's one of those things where I think the market is starting, or he's starting to lose his steam when it comes to convincing the market that there's some big bad boogeyman that is going to come out of nowhere, which are the tariffs. Even the 10-year higher, a little bit more than what it was in the morning. It was at 4.47 in the morning. Now it's at 4.509, but still down from yesterday, which is really good. And the bond market is not overreacting. The stock market's not overreacting. Quite frankly, no one's reacting. It was just one of those things where it's like, all right, it is what it is. However, what is reacting are nuclear stocks. I mean, these things are still going crazy. Oklo right here up 27% on the day. NNE, Nano Nuclear, that's up 31%. And then SMR is up 20%. Trump did sign the executive order. It happened about 2 hours ago. So there were rumors of him getting ready to sign the executive order. He ultimately signed it. And as a result of signing it, that launched these stocks into a new stratosphere. Constellation Energy up about 1.56% today. The CEO of Constellation Energy was actually at the executive order for the signing. And so you saw a lot of momentum on these nuclear stocks. Now, they're not up that much more than where they were this morning because him signing it didn't really make them go higher. But the fact that he signed it confirmed the rumors. And so nuclear energy seems to be another place where the market is giving some attention to. Apple right here, 2.94%. We do have some updates on Apple and what's going on with Apple, including what Trump said about dealing with tariffs on Apple. Apparently, it's not just Apple. It is also now Samsung.
Interesting. What can you tell us, Eamon?
Yes, Scott, that's right. The president continuing to express frustration in the Oval Office with both the EU and with Apple. And let's start with Apple. The president was asked by another reporter in that session in the Oval Office a short time ago how he has the authority to issue a tariff, as it suggested in his early morning social media post, against just one company, that is, against just Apple. Here's how he answered it.
It would be more. It would be also Samsung and anybody that makes that product. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair. So anybody that makes that product, and that'll start on, I guess, the end of June. It'll come out.
And Scott, I also had the chance to talk to the president briefly, and I asked him about the EU, and I asked him about Apple Computer as well. The president told me that he's confident that in the end, Apple will be able to make an iPhone that is competitive economically in the United States. I asked him, what gives you that confidence? He said, well, with computers and technology, they can produce that product in the United States at an economically competitive price. Now, a lot of analysts that you've talked to and I've talked to might disagree with that, but the reality is that's what the president of the United States believes, and that's what's driving a lot of this. And on the EU, the president simply said he was frustrated with the progress that they have made, doesn't like the fact that the EU restricts American vehicles, in his view, into Europe, and expressed frustration with the slow pace of negotiations with the EU. So not clear whether there's going to be a breakthrough there. We know there was a call at 11 a.m. this morning between both sides. We haven't gotten any readout of that call to understand whether any progress was made at all, Scott. So the president, continuing to vent some frustration here in the Oval Office.
Yeah, and we're watching Apple shares. Eamon, thank you very much for that, both the update on the EU and that company. We can take a look at the stock here.
So essentially, the iPhone, which is this big thing that Trump had an issue with today, that's not being manufactured in the United States. Is being manufactured in India, or at least it's going to start to be manufactured in India. 25% tariffs Trump is threatening. Apparently, he can't just threaten Apple because there's no legal precedent for him to do that. So now he's applying it to any company that is making iPhones, including Samsung, and kind of stretching the boundaries of what he initially said in the context of tariffs, which, is probably the legal way to get it done, but obviously not the best thing for Apple. This is a fun stat for everybody as well. Apple is having an 8-day losing streak, which is the worst in 3 years. So Apple shares have not gone red for the past 3 years in a row, 8 days in a row, but that's what's happening. Microsoft is having its best 1 month since March of 2023, which is pretty incredible. So Microsoft right here, 451, down a little bit on the day, but just got upgraded to 550 at Jefferies. If you look at the chart right here over the past month, absolutely incredible month. Really, Microsoft has been a dead stock for the past couple of years. I mean, even in 2024, like Microsoft was up only during the July part of 2024, and then we had the carry-in trade and never really recovered. So Microsoft going the opposite of Apple. A lot of people starting to wonder, wait a second, Microsoft's actually doing stuff in AI, even if they don't have the distribution that Apple has. Apple's trading at an aggressive multiple, and they're not growing outside of the buybacks. And so from that perspective, maybe we're getting a little bit of a switch in tone when it comes to Apple versus Microsoft. Now, another thing Trump said as well when he was asked about the EU is that he's not looking for a deal with the EU and that companies will move their plants here. This was not the best rhetoric when it comes to, I guess, trying to get, the EU to talk to them. Essentially he's saying, hey, I don't need to get a deal with these guys. They're either going to move here or not. Now, we all know in reality he needs to get a deal, and he's just saying this to say this. But nonetheless, he kind of stood firm on his ground when he was asked about the question, and he was like, nope, I don't care if we make a deal or not, which we know he does. But his argument was, we just want them to come back to the United States and at least start building some of their products. So what is the market's interpretation of all this? The market, well, you're looking at it right here. They don't care. And it's one of those things where maybe some of the reason we got a little bit of the dip buying today, if you even want to call anything that we had a dip, is because institutions are just chomping at the bit for any bit of volatility they can jump into, simply because of the fact that they know it's going to be hard. If Moody's couldn't give it to us, if the 20-year bond auction couldn't give it to us, if Trump threatening 50% tariffs can't give us like any meaningful dip, then maybe there's just too much excitement about the overall AI sector and broader market. HIMS right here up 1.5%. HIMS was down 10% on the day yesterday. Now it's up. ELF went green. Again, China exposure. That one's up. BABA, that's also slightly flat on the day. The Qs are basically flat with the S&P down about 0.6%. VIX up 9%. At one point, it was up 20%. Uber's flat. Walmart's flat. CoreWeave is up a little bit after being down 6% yesterday. Even GameStop was up 10% yesterday. Now it's up 5.9%. I mean, risk-on assets that should be selling off on the threat of tariffs are not. And then you got Bitcoin right here at 109 as well. Yeah, ELF has earnings next week. That's also going to be really important. And we're going to see ELF, Salesforce, and NVIDIA next week on the 28th as well. So let's talk more about Apple, because I think that's another big question that the market is having with today, especially given what Trump said. And, well, I mean, there are some concerns with Apple, and I think a lot of people are starting to recognize some of those concerns. Here is Gabriella Santos talking a little bit about what she thinks is going on with Apple, and also what it means for, for this inevitable fight that the market is going to have with the concept of tariff volatility.
Tariffs on Apple. Do we need to put this back into the mix, stir it up a little bit, and see what comes out for the market?
I think we'll still say the T word, tariffs, for a while. President Trump does like tariffs as a tool for a variety of objectives. I would still say that we're likely past the worst of the tariff storm, but it's still cloudy with a chance of showers. What I mean by that is we're still past that peak rate we got to on April 8th of about 30%. We're still kind of settling in here at 14% on a macro level. It's also still much less widespread. It's now less of a hammer, more of a scalpel impact, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have an impact. Especially on specific companies. It's not just in the auto sector. It can also be in cyclical tech hardware, for example, which can continue underperforming soft tech, which is much more of a secular AI kind of a theme. The last thing I thought was really interesting that Eamon Javers was mentioning about the president's comment was this idea of companies having still a lot of technology to make manufacturing cost effective. And I think to the extent that for U.S. consumers, companies bring manufacturing here to the U.S. It's just going to turbocharge automation and automation plus AI as a way to bring some incremental jobs in the manufacturing sector here, but also maintain spectacular margins over time.
When we were standing at the edge of the cliff and the president walked his tariffs back against China, it almost felt by the market reaction that it was a formality that the S&P was going to take out its old high. We got to within 4%. Most people that I asked that question to said, yeah, I think we're going to do that. Now we backed off. Does this wreck that story?
100% conviction we will at some point. We always do. We digest things. I just don't think it's a foregone conclusion this quarter, for example, because two things. Number one, it's still cloudy with a chance of showers. We just still need to understand the impact of existing policy on actual earnings growth for the market overall, for specific companies. But most importantly, number two, how quickly we came back and how quickly valuations got back to 21 times on consensus earnings that everyone knows is still quite stale and still needs to come down. So negative earnings revision still suggests some choppiness here, and it might take a while to get back to all-time highs, but we will get there.
How would you address that?
Bro, she doesn't blink. I don't know how she doesn't blink, but she doesn't blink, and it's kind of cool to see someone talk as intellectually as she talks without blinking. Nonetheless, I think she's right. It is always going to be cloudy with a chance of tariffs or some type of volatility. Look at the S&P, bro. We're $2 away from going green. Do you think we do it, folks? We got 20 minutes left. Do you think we do it? Do you think we actually go green? I don't think they're going to let us go green in the last 20 minutes. But I mean, dude, if you told me Trump was going to say, hey, I'm going to put out a tweet tomorrow indicating I want 50% tariffs on the EU, I wouldn't have guessed we closed green. I really wouldn't have. And we're good. Well, technically I did say in the morning, hey, there's a shot we could close green, but that's just because you know what hit me in the morning? Like I looked at Robinhood, everything was down. All the stocks were down. People were freaking out on Twitter. And then I just thought about it for a second. Like I really took a second to think about it. And I was like, we've been through this. We just went through it. We literally just and then it hit me. I'm like, wait a second. This is not new. We literally just experienced these absurd, egregious. If he said 10%, I would take it more seriously. If he said 15%, I would take it more seriously. And maybe the market would take it more seriously as well, because they could assume it's like actually possible to get a 10% tariff. But then again, they might not care because they already priced in 10%. But as soon as he says these stupid numbers, 50%, 150%, it's like, okay, this is just a joke. And we know it's a joke. And we know Trump wants to get along with everybody. He doesn't want to isolate everyone and like create all these rifts. And we just saw what he did in April with the 90-day pause and all these different pivots that he did. So like, this is not real. And I think that's what the market is telling us right now. This is just not real, which means I don't know if the Europeans have leverage here. I don't know if the Europeans also don't believe him. I think he would implement 50% tariffs. I just don't think they would stay for a long time. So that could create some volatility, but it's not to the point where he is going to have the next 4 years of 50%. At least it doesn't feel like that would be the case. But dude, maybe we go red. And again, what Gabriella Santos was saying about Apple is just like, hey, maybe there is a valuation concern just because services is one of their greatest parts of their business. And obviously services is going to be a little bit tough to keep up in terms of that momentum. Given they might be losing Google, there's more competition. These EU regulations now force Apple to allow certain companies to be able to sell in-app purchases. Like, for example, on Spotify, if you wanted to subscribe on Spotify, they would force you to go to the desktop because Apple would take 30%. Now, you're allowed to actually subscribe to a Spotify monthly subscription in the EU via the Spotify app because Apple can't take their little fee. And so things like this are going to chip away at their margins like over time. And if they're already not growing, I think that's kind of the core valuation concern right now in the context of Apple. Apple right here down 2.83% on the day. If NVIDIA misses, it will be bloody. I agree. And I think NVIDIA, could miss. I also just think we've been seeing so much demand. Even if there's a miss, I think they would raise expectations so strongly for the rest of the year. But I don't think they're going to miss. I don't. So the street's expecting the expectation on NVIDIA after all of the revisions that have happened over the past couple of weeks is 93 cents of EPS and 43.3 billion in revenue. If they come in with 44, which is not the biggest beat, but at least it's better than no beat given the China revenue is gone, and then maybe 95, 96 cents of EPS. Again, I don't think they have to moon, but I don't think the market's going to sell them off as aggressively as before. Palantir held below 125 kill options. Yup, dude, it was covered call premium collection day, baby. All these Palantir covered calls, NVIDIA, Hood. I mean, a lot of these things, a lot of the buyers of the calls assumed they would basically get to all-time highs by Friday, which is today. And that didn't happen. Even Google, if you sold calls yesterday at 175 for maybe 180, 185, Google's back to 169. Like It's just one of those types of markets where you get gains, but the gains don't happen literally every day. And in the gray space there is where you can benefit from the volatility. Microsoft right here, 451. Enphase, a little bit of a rebound after falling 20% yesterday. That's up 4.3%. AMD at 110. Grab trying to make its way back to $5 at 496. Coinbase 265, down 2%. And then Roblox, that's up 1%. Tesla at 340. Okay, so let's talk about the Tesla news. Let's talk about the Tesla news because there is some big Tesla news here from Mr. Elon Musk that I think is important. Admit we have been going sideways for a while now. Would you recommend to new investors to go out there and gather more capital and just ride the sideways trend, or what is your best advice? I mean, look, from my perspective, which is not even advice, this is just like the strategy that I think retail always has to engage in, is your DCA. And I know that's boring, but like your DCA. So like if you want NVIDIA for the next 5 years, do you really care if you buy it at 130 or 125? Probably not. So does that mean this is the best time to buy NVIDIA? No one knows, right? I can't tell you. No one can tell you. Like anyone who says they can tell you is wrong. It's just a question of, do you have a long-term thesis on this that makes a lot of sense? My strategy here has been twofold, and we'll talk more about this over the coming weeks. But if you really want NVIDIA right now, but you don't want to pay 130, you could sell a put at 125 or 120, right? So at least you have a little margin of safety to be able to get some money if you have to buy it at a cheaper price. And if you do want to buy some NVIDIA, but also use it to make some income, you can sell some covered calls against it, or any stock for that particular matter. Now, I will say this, the market is elevated, right? We just went through an 18% run on the S&P 500 from the lows and then a 25% run from the Qs. So it would not surprise me, and it really would not make me lose sleep at night if a lot of these stocks fall 5 to 10%. It would be annoying, but NVIDIA back to 110, Palantir back to 100, Robinhood back to like 50, that would be, I think, rather reasonable to consolidate. If Moody's couldn't do it, if the bond auction couldn't do it, if 50% tariffs couldn't do it, then I think at some point people are just going to say, you know what, maybe I should start DCAing. And it's not just retail. I think it's institutional investors that have been waiting for that opportunity. Again, they haven't gotten it. And maybe that institutional money might be coming in. Now, granted, retail is so strong in regards to their momentum. Again, we saw on Monday, they bought $4 billion worth of stocks in the first 3 hours of the S&P 500 going down less than 1%, that it just does feel like a market that has a lot of tailwinds behind it. And if we get some more trade deals, Basent kind of calmed down the market today, said the SLR ratios are going to go up. We're going to get bond yields to hopefully come down with more demand coming in. J Powell's probably not cutting rates anytime soon, but Basent still said, hey, the tax cuts are going to permanently make sure more growth is in the United States. We will outgrow the deficit. Like there's a ton of bull case arguments you can make if we avoid a recession to be able to say that buying stocks and at least DCAing is not the worst thing in the world. And so that's kind of how I would think about it. And by the way, I'm buying stocks. I bought Hood yesterday. I bought NVIDIA 2 days ago. It's like I'm buying into the strength simply because A, I know I can sell calls against it to benefit from the volatility. B, I want to own more shares of this market, especially over the next 4 years. Okay, here's what we got with the Elon news. Here's what we got. So this was important. Elon. Now this is actually the most important news of the day. This is way more important than the tariff stuff and the Apple stuff. So Elon put out a tweet, and this is me summarizing the things he said. I'll show the tweet in a second, but these are the 3 things he said in the tweet. Doge will delay the bankruptcy of America, but won't solve the issue. I've come to the conclusion that GDP growth matters more than anything, and only radical productivity improvements will save America. Dude, I saw this tweet today, and I was like, oh, Mr. Elon is basically saying, you know, I give up when it comes to trying to save the country from waste and fraud, not because he's not talented enough to try to do that. He tried to do that, but he also realized, hey, might not be that easy to do that. And he is shifting his focus now to accelerating GDP growth. So here's exactly what he said. I've come to the perhaps obvious conclusion that accelerating GDP growth is essential. Doge has and will do great work to postpone the day of bankruptcy of America, but the profligacy of government means that the only radical improvements in productivity can save our country. What's interesting to me about this is that basically Elon's saying, hey, Doge is not going to save us. Doge is going to do great work to postpone the day of bankruptcy for America, basically saying, hey, like America could go bankrupt. It's very possible, given how we're spending. And Doge may stop that from happening. Doge may prolong it from happening, but it's going to happen. The only way to get out of it is to grow, which is kind of what Basent has been talking about for a long time as well. And I kind of think he's right about that, because as much as I was optimistic for Doge as well, I've also come to the conclusion, hey, like the only way we're going to cut spending in the United States is Social Security or Medicare. And that's just not happening. And so if we're not cutting those two things, whatever Doge tries to find, 150 billion, 200 billion, whatever, it's not going to make a dent in the overall spending of this country, which means the only solution left is to freaking grow. This is why if you're not bullish on AI, you kind of have to be bullish on AI and Optimus and robots. You got to be bullish on some type of S curve. Like we have the computer revolution, then the cloud revolution, then the mobile revolution. Now we have to have an AI revolution, because if we don't grow, I don't know how this economy gets out of the spending issue that we're in right now. Why not cut military? Look, I definitely don't think we need to be spending $1 trillion on defense, but Trump's going to spend on defense, and pretty much every president has spent on defense. And so, when it comes to American safety, that's usually stuff you can't compromise on. I think there is some form of a compromise, but most presidents don't have the political capital to actually do the compromise. And so if we're not going to compromise on defense, Social Security, or Medicare, it's going to have to be growth. So I just thought that was interesting that Elon said that today, because basically his argument is, hey, he said it without saying it. I think he basically said I failed. And that's not a bad thing to say he failed, but essentially he's saying Doge failed. Doge, it was supposed to do $2 trillion of cuts. It's not getting anywhere close to that. And now he's coming back to Tesla, and he's saying, hey, if I can get robots to be the thing that increases productivity, if I can get self-driving cars to be that important, if I can create an energy revolution, then maybe I can accelerate GDP growth to such an extent that there's going to be a better shot for us to win long-term simply by increasing productivity. Because maybe Doge is not going to end up being able to fix it. So there you go. That's what we got. And again, when I say Doge failed, I'm not saying it in a negative way. Like, I'm saying Doge failed in the context of, hey, he said $2 trillion of cuts. Doge is not going to do that. Like we just have to be honest. And if it does, I'd be more than happy. But I find it very hard to believe Doge will actually get $2 trillion of cuts. But I commended Elon for trying. It's really hard. And it's ironically, it might be easier to make Optimus turn into this next wave of GDP growth with billions and billions of bots that he could be selling across the world, versus getting the government to stop spending their money. And so from that perspective, Elon's back at Tesla, and he's ready to continue being back at Tesla. Looks like we got an update from Trump right here. Here we go. I am proud to announce that after much consideration and negotiation, U.S. Steel will remain in America and keep its headquarters in the great city of Pittsburgh. For many years, the name United States Steel was synonymous with greatness, and now it has begun. This will be a planned partnership between the United States Steel and Nippon Steel, which will create at least 70,000 jobs and add $14 billion to the U.S. economy. The bulk of that investment will occur in the next 14 months. This is the largest investment in the history of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. My tariff policies will ensure that steel will once again be forever made in America. From Pennsylvania to Arkansas and from Minnesota to Indiana, American made is back. I will see you all at the U.S. Steel in Pittsburgh on Friday, May 30th for a big rally. Congratulations to all. Okay, so U.S. Steel, ticker symbol X, continues to stay in the United States. There you go, 24% on the day. 24% on the day. Did anyone own this? Did anyone own the U.S. Steel company? This was the problem with them is they were not supposed to stay in Pittsburgh for sure. And there was a lot of controversy around. I think Biden kind of stopped them from doing a couple different mergers as well. So it looks like Trump is just saying, nope, they're going to stay in the United States. And he's saying 70,000 jobs and $14 billion of investment into the U.S. economy. Yeah, this is not like a super, super heavily owned retail stock or anything, and it definitely doesn't move 20% in a day. But there you go. This is a $11 billion company, lots of jobs in Pennsylvania. That one is green based on this Trump announcement. So there you go. Someone brought a lot of X short-term calls this morning. Yeah, someone had to have known. I would love to see the option flow on this one. I would love to see it on this. There you go. Ticker symbol X getting some love on this announcement by Trump. So that's what we got. Again, going back to the Tesla news, Elon saying I'm back at Tesla and not really going to be focusing on the United States government anymore. I think that was like the biggest news of the day, even outside of those 50% tariffs. But the market as well, not caring about the 50% tariffs. Now, here's the thing. If you're short Tesla, this would scare me, right? Because yes, is Tesla super expensive and the multiples egregious? Sure. Is Q2 going to be bad? Probably. But if Elon's back and he's ready to sleep at the factory again because he doesn't care anymore about solving waste and fraud because GDP growth is more important to him. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would take a shot shorting him, especially if we're getting into a little bit more of a bull market going into the end of the year. The one thing that is interesting, though, about this whole Elon obvious conclusion that he tweeted about today is, did something happen for him to realize this? So the obvious thing that could have happened is he tried to cut a bunch of stuff, and then Trump basically said no, or other bureaucrats in the government said no. But did something deeper happen to the point where he's just like, you know what, screw this, I'm going back to Tesla? And it could be as simple as he tried and he failed and he realized he can't cut trillions of dollars of spend, or it could have been something else that happened, and that was enough to get him to feel like it just doesn't make any sense to keep doing this. He read the dumbass bill. Yeah, hold on. That is exactly what happened. That Mrs. KM, you are exactly correct. He read this stupid tax bill that is going to increase our deficit by $4 trillion or whatever the number is. And I say stupid not because I think some of the policies in there are stupid. I say stupid because no president has been able to cut spending, at least in the past 40 years. And this one big, beautiful bill, just like the Inflation Reduction Act, is not going to do what it says it does. Inflation Reduction Act literally increased inflation. One big, beautiful bill. It's not going to be beautiful when we have $3 trillion to our deficit, unless we outgrow it, which I think, Bessent's been saying, hey, we'll outgrow the pace of our GDP versus the pace of our deficit spend. And Elon tweets today, I think the obvious conclusion is to focus on GDP acceleration over waste and fraud. It's kind of like he's acknowledged, okay, if Congress is actually going to pass this shit, there's nothing else I could do. There's nothing else I could do. Yeah, the last surplus we had was with Clinton. I agree. But since then, it's just been a mess. And, we've had a lot of things happen. We had the financial crisis. We had COVID. We had the Iraq war. We had so many things that accelerated spending. But nonetheless, I think everyone's come to the conclusion that this is a country. We are a nation of spenders in terms of individual consumers. And then we are also a nation in terms of our government that will spend. So it's kind of crazy because there was this whole revolution of Doge, just even philosophically, people being excited for efficiencies in our government with waste and fraud. And now everyone's just realizing, yeah, it's probably not going to play out the way we thought it was going to play out. We got 3 minutes until the market close. Here's Bryn Talkington on Apple. Let's get her take real quick, and then we will get into this market close on the day.
Agreement, which to me is a huge blow because obviously Johnny Ive was it was so important in making the iPhone, the shuffle, etc. And so we'll see what happens with that. And so I think that where Tim Cook is a master statesman, diplomat, if you go back to 2018, remember Foxconn to acquiesce Trump said, we're going to build this big LG manufacturing plant in Wisconsin. Great, you get a pass. Guess what? It never broke ground. And I think Microsoft just bought the property recently. And so I do think that the statesman diplomat that Tim Cook is, they could easily make promises, but the reality is how our political system works. We're going to have an election and we're going to have an election in 3.5 years. And so they can make these promises like Foxconn, and a lot of these companies will see if they actually deliver. To me, the challenge with Apple is Siri is slightly better than Alexa, which is not a compliment at all. And it just continues to feel that they are behind in the race, and we'll see what products come out of, OpenAI. I'm not sure, but I do think that Tim Cook is really in a difficult position because you actually look globally, the one country that has incredibly high tariffs is actually India. It's about 12%. And so if he goes to India, while Besson and the crew are negotiating with India, it doesn't help their cause. And I think Trump's pointed that out. We don't want you to go to India because they're trying to negotiate with India, which is a closed economy and has very high tariffs.
I would say Alexa's better than Siri. I was actually confused when she said Siri's better than Alexa. Dude, Siri can't do anything. Like I asked Siri today, what's the weather in Boston? And she was like, she just didn't answer it. Like it was just weird. It's like there was just nothing. And so I went to ChatGPT literally, and I was like, what's the weather in Boston like? And I didn't go to Google. And then there you go. I got the weather in Boston. It's gonna be like 58 degrees. There's like 47 more on Saturday. So it's Siri is useless, bro. And hopefully eventually Siri becomes more useful. But that is kind of the core point, right? That Apple is going to India. The United States is trying to get a deal in India. It's really hard when the biggest country in America is going to India to shift their manufacturing, and the United States is trying to get a deal in India. And I think that's probably pissing Trump off as well. And so from that perspective, that's probably why we're feeling some of this pain on Apple today. All right, folks, here we go. Friday, May 23rd. It is now 4 p.m. The stock market is now closed. What a week it's been, folks. What a week it has been. S&P 500 ends 579.7% on the day. It probably would have been green if not for that 50% tariff tweet on the EU by Trump. But outside of that, I'll take it if we only get a 0.7% down day. For the past 5 days, S&P is down 1.5%. That's okay. For the past month, it's up 8%. And year to date, the S&P is down 0.95%. Not too bad. Not too bad. Hoodie, 63.10, down 2% on the day. Tessie, 339, down about 4% or 0.4%. NVIDIA, 131, that's basically flat for the week, but down about 1.1%. Rocket Lab down 1.7%. Palantir actually ended green, up 0.8%. PayPal, 2.2 down. SoFi, 1309, about 0.76 down. Google, great I.O. event in terms of like actual updates. Not the best presentation of the event. The updates were respected for like a day. Then I think the whole tariff stuff took everything down. But Google at 168, it would not surprise me next week if we get back over 170, as long as the macro kind of holds up. Google 1.44% down on the day. Meta 626, that's down about 2%. Amazon down about 1%. Bill Ackman, new position in Amazon officially announced yesterday. Pinterest down about 2.6. Microsoft, good week, 449. That's down about 1% on the day. MicroStrategy, weird week with everything going on, given Bitcoin hit all-time highs. But MicroStrategy, I don't know why it's 7.4% down on the day. Really don't know. Again, my guess has been that they've been diluting and doing at the monies to raise money to buy Bitcoin. But that one took a bit of a hit. And then Metaplanet ended today down about 20% as well. So you got MicroStrategy down right there by about 7.4. Grab, 495. AMD, 110. Roblox, 82. Coinbase, 263, down about 3%. TLT, little bit of recovery today, but overall crappy week. Even yields were spiking. And then CoreWeave 103, up about 2.84%, up basically 40% for the week, even if it was down 7% yesterday. So there we go. That's what we got. Quantum had a decent week as well, to say the least. IONQ flat on the day. It was up 20% yesterday. QBTS D-Wave down 2%, kind of nothing. It was up 30% yesterday. And then Rigetti up on the day, and it was up about 15% yesterday. So the quantum names, this is another risk barometer I think we all need to look at. If the quantum names are actually, like up or flat on a day where Trump threatens 50% tariffs, like those are the stocks that people should sell immediately because they're so risk on. Even GameStop up 5% of the day, right? They're so risk adjusted. GameStop up 6.9%, that you would be afraid to hold those names. And it's like, if people are not selling quantum stocks that are trading at like a 5,000 times price to sales, then I don't feel like the market is in that risk off mode where everyone's scared of whatever headline comes up from Trump, even if it's a 50% tariff tweet that no one expected, but quite frankly, based on today's action, no one cared about. Bitcoin right here, 108.6, down about 2% as well. Even Archer, bad short report they got yesterday, was flat on the day, didn't continue to fall down. So I don't know, dude. It feels like we're still risk on. It feels like it's hard to say that money on the sidelines is better than money being deployed in some parts of the market, especially if you can benefit from that risk by writing calls against your position. But the quantum names have been really outperforming everything this year, and definitely outperforming everything over the past couple weeks as well. Cool. So that's what we got on some of the quantum names. HIMS, how did HIMS end for the day? HIMS right here, 54.50. They took a 7-8% dump because of that Novo Cigna partnership. But besides that, I mean, holding the 50s when the stock was 20 3 weeks ago, not too bad. It's because we're all addicted to gambling in this chat. Now, to me, it's more retail momentum, right? It's retail momentum. Look, are these names expensive on traditional valuation metrics yet? Yeah, like from a risk-adjusted basis, of course. But the cult around quantum, I think there might be a world where they believe they're right, and they're going to diamond hand these stocks, just like you would diamond hand any stock if you believe you know right before the rest of the world. These were the quantum names yesterday. By the way, Martin Shkreli followed me back on Twitter yesterday, so I guess he saw my quantum tweet. And Shkreli still thinks it's a 95% probability of these stocks going to zero, based on what he said yesterday. It's going to be a question of the retail community around quantum being right against the Shkrelis of the world, who I wouldn't really call him a suit, but he's definitely a short when it comes to thinking about quantum. One of them is going to be right. And I don't necessarily know if it's just gambling. I mean, there is a thesis on quantum. I'm not educated on the thesis, but for those that are educated, they're diamond holding it. Now, are there people chasing it, and are they kind of gambling with it? Sure. But that's just going to keep these prices elevated. And if it does come back down to reality, that reality might be a way better reality than, I mean, Rigetti was like 50 cents last year at this time. So if Rigetti, which is at 13 right now, comes down to like 7, yeah, that sucks. That's a 50% retracement. But still, it's up from 50 cents last year. So like the new normal for these names, even if it's 50 or 40% lower, is going to be way better than what it was 2 years ago, which could be the new normal for how we think about quantum in general. But yeah, I don't own it. I'm still doing more research on it. In general, I obviously don't love the valuations, but for those that have got in early, you know, you've obviously been doing very, very well. CCJ, yeah, that one with the nuclear names did well today, 11.3%. Again, Oklo right here up 22%. And then NNE, Nano Nuclear Energy. This one did well based on that nuclear order. You know, and that was also, you know, the interesting thing about the nuclear order is that Trump basically said, hey, we need more energy. And because of how much they need more energy, it became almost one of these things where he couldn't deny the fact that there is something going on in regards to the technology infrastructure changes that we're going through via AI, LLMs, GPUs. And he kept saying in the press conference that if we're going to do all this, then there's going to have to be some form of energy to finance it. And one of the options for that is nuclear. Rock Lab, how do we end the day on Rock Lab? That was 25.38. Rock Lab's been doing good, dude. Stuck in that 24.25, just marinating there, chilling, kind of consolidating, and hopefully trying to make that next leg up back to 28.30, where it was in January. Let's see what else. Why does Skrelly get any credibility? What did he do? Well, he invented the patents for certain drugs, and then he price gouged and went to jail. So I guess the credibility he gets is from making the patents. The going to jail part is probably not the best part. He did also manage a hedge fund. I mean, he's had some really good trades and stuff like that. But on quantum, he's just been dead wrong, right? Even if he's right about the valuations, he's like, and I don't even think he cares about the valuation. He thinks these quantum companies genuinely aren't doing anything. Like, obviously, he thinks the valuations are aggressive, but more so he thinks like they're not real quantum names. Like the real quantum names to him are the Googles and the IBMs of the world. But there's a whole host of new quantum companies that retail has uniquely been attracted to. And that's why, you know, they've caught a bit. Let's talk about this right here. A lot of people have been asking me about the Palantir insider selling. So let me pull it up right here. This news broke late last night that Karp, Sham, and a bunch of the executives at the company sold some Palantir. I'm trying to pull up the exact tweet so I can show you guys. But my thoughts on it are pretty simple. It's the same thoughts I've had for a long time, which is if you see insiders selling, yeah, here it is, and you want to sell with them, then go ahead. It's kind of that simple. Shout out to Farzad. Farzad, thank you for being here. Shout out to you, brother. I'm doing my Tesla in like an hour. I'm driving to Boston, 5 hours FSD. So I will be very excited to report on how it plays out. I think I'm going to have maybe 3 to 5 interventions. Hopefully not too many. Farzad's thinking I'm going to have like maybe 2 interventions. If I have 0 interventions all the way to Boston, that's going to be wild, bro. That's going to be absolutely crazy. So shout out to Farzad as well. So Karp sold 50 million. Cohen sold 43 million. Sham Sanker sold 21 million. Glazer sold 4.32 million. Look, we've been through this over and over again, but it's very simple. It's very simple. The stock's up aggressively. The stock is priced at a very strong premium. These guys have been at the company literally since 2003. They're going to take profits. They were selling shares at $8. I remember every day when we got those insider sales. And at the time we were like, do they not like the company, or is it more so they've just been here for 15 years at the time and they want to take some profits? And obviously we've seen what's happened to the stock. Them selling did not have any impact on the liquidity of this company, the momentum of the company, the acceleration of growth of this company, etc. When insiders are selling and the company's not performing, that's when you should have a problem. When the company's performing and the market is more than giving you a premium that warrants and justifies how well you've been performing, which is what the market's giving to Palantir right now, you take some profits. So to me, it's very simple. If you see this and you get uneasy and you've got a big Palantir position and you're like, okay, Karp is offloading a little bit, maybe I should offload, then sell. You're getting a way better price than any of these guys got 2 years ago, or even honestly 17 months ago when they were selling at $30. So I just don't buy much into it because there's not much to There's not much to analyze here. Like, okay, Karp is selling. Yeah, he's taking some profits. Like, it is what it is. And if you had as much Palantir as he had, which at this point is worth, I believe, $12 billion, and he's selling 50 million of it, it's just not the craziest idea to take some profits as well. So yeah, there's just, I'm not even trying to cover for them selling. It's like, this is the take I've had literally since they were selling at 30, 40 bucks. I'm like, okay, they're selling. At 30 bucks, I thought it started getting expensive. I was like, oh, they're probably right to sell, to take something. Peter Thiel sold $1 billion of Palantir at $37. And then Palantir went on to go to $80 by the end of the year, and now it's at 120. So it's one of those things where if you think growth's going to decelerate and that's why they're selling because they're going to have a crappy Q2, then you could have that opinion. I think that's not the case. I think genuinely they just need to take some profits, like any insider at a company would de-risk and take some profits. Palantir right here, 123. I mean, the fact that Palantir's up today after those sales were disclosed yesterday also is incredible. It just shows the momentum in this name and the fact that it's starting to get normalized, hopefully, in this triple-digit range as more people are joining as shareholders in the company as well. So that's what we got on Palantir. Yeah, they also get paid in stock, dude. These guys don't make millions of dollars a year in like salary. They get paid in stock. Everything they own in the company is just like, I don't think Karp gets a salary, and if he does, it's very small. It's stock. That's it. So they will sell occasionally to be able to, finance their life and everything that they have to do as well. Okay, cool. So that's what we got on the Palantir event. Steven Stewart, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining and becoming a channel member. Can you put the link in for Boston? Yes, I'll put it again. If anyone new signs up, just join the Telegram link because you're probably not going to get an email. So if you sign up, you will get an email for the Telegram, but just join the Telegram because that'll be easier for me to communicate. But this is kind of your last shot here now for the Boston meetup. And I'll see everybody on Saturday. I don't know how many people are going to show up, dude. I think we had like 140 people sign up to the forums. I'm expecting maybe 20 of you guys to show up. So I'm not expecting a lot. I think it's going to be a much more intimate meetup, a little bit smaller and more chill. But whoever shows up, and then that'll be cool because usually at the meetups it's like it's me running around talking to as many people as I can. So in this case, if it's like 20, 30 people, then a lot of us could just sit and talk for a few hours, and it could be pretty cool, just all of us together. So there's a really good location. I called up the place. I think it's pretty cool. It should be fun. And yeah, on Saturday, I think it'll be cool. But again, I'm doing it via FS. Yo, dude, my sister got so mad today. My sister's sick, so she stayed home today. And I guess I didn't tell her I was going to Boston. I thought I told her, but like, I guess I didn't. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to Boston today. She's like, what do you mean you're going to Boston? I was like, oh, I'm just going to Boston. I have a meetup. She's like, what meetup? I was like, for YouTube. I'm like, doing a meetup. And she's like, okay, so you're taking the Amtrak. I was like, no. She's like, what do you do? I was like, I'm taking the Tesla. She's like, you're driving to Boston. I was like, I'm not driving. The computer's going to be driving. I'm just going to be monitoring. And she got so upset. And the reason she got upset is because my sister cannot stand Tesla. Not because she hates Elon or anything, but because the anxiety she gets in FSD. I can't even explain it, bro. We went to the mall like a month ago, and she couldn't stop like jittering back and forth. Like I took her to the airport back in early April, and I didn't feel like finding the directions to the airport, so I turned on FSD. It was so funny. We were 2 minutes away from entering the right terminal, and she thought I was supposed to take a left, and like the car took a right, and she started like, why is it taking this stupid computer? I'm like, dude, just like, it's a computer. Like it's much smarter than me. And then, it took a left and it came the right way, and then boom, there you go. So yeah, she's scared. And I'm like, why are you scared? It's a freaking, it's just a car. Like, I hope it does the right thing and like takes me to the destination. But given I've been using it every day for the past basically 5 months, and the longest I've drove in an FSD is like an hour and a half. So this one's gonna be 5 hours. And I charged it to 100%. Usually you don't charge the Tesla up to 100%. It's like 80%, but I did it to 100%. And when I mapped out the journey, it'll still be at 16% by the time I'm done with the 5 hour drive. So I don't think I'm gonna even have to stop for charging. I might stop at like a service area, but I don't think I'm going to actually have to charge it on that 100% battery. You'll feel mega refreshed when you drive. Yeah, I agree. Dude, like not having to, I've never done a 5 hour drive. I think the most I've done in my life is a 3 hour drive. Just like I went from New Jersey to Connecticut a couple years ago. That was like 3 hours, but it's annoying, bro. You have to figure out all the turns, all the exits. You have to like actually be there monitoring everything, making sure you like, but and with the Tesla, it's like, I'm just going to put on a podcast, turn on FSD and just chill out. So I'm excited to doing this. I'm like really excited to actually play this out. Driving regularly at Newark is a hot mess. Dude, the Newark airport over the past 2 weeks has been insane. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with it, but multiple flights delayed, service systems down. It's like, it has been an absolute, I'm so happy I'm not flying out of Newark, at least for like another month. But it's been bad. It's been pretty bad. So yeah, I can understand your concern too, but the car figured it out because FSD is just smart as hell. So yeah, dude, I'm excited for this. I'm really excited for this. Obviously, I'm going to have to still monitor the car because I saw a video the other day of FSD on like the newest software, and it missed like this thing that was on the highway that like you were supposed to turn away from, and it kind of like messed up the mirror because it like kind of ran into it. Like there was no crash or anything, but it was just one of those awkward things where I missed it. And so I have to make sure like it does the job. But if it can do this with a couple interventions, then I think that's a big win for Tesla, bro. How many miles? It's about 215 miles. About 215. There's probably going to be traffic, though. So, yeah, I will be getting there, like, late at night if I leave in, like, the next 30 minutes. But it is what it is. Stream from the car. So, I wanted to stream from the car, but the problem is you can't do... Dude, you can barely check your phone. Everyone was saying stream it. You can't even look at your phone to change the music, to change the song without the authoritarian dashboard being like, hey, you want to strike? Because we'll take away your whole FSD, buddy, if you keep looking at your phone. So, yeah, I can't stream it, dude. I can't do anything. There's like no way. Wear sunglasses? Yeah, but see, I've never done that before, so I can't do it this time. But I do need to find a way to stop this thing from, like, literally, if I want to change the music, bro, like you have to reach down to like press the app, and it's like, nope. We're gonna give you a strike. You need to get Starlink installed on the roof of your car to live stream. Well, Farzad, you do a lot of car videos, so I need to hit you up to figure out exactly how you record in the car. Dude, I wanted to literally start a Tesla FSD channel because I was so impressed with it in January once I bought FSD, and I was like, dude, I want to make a channel of me just driving around and talking. I just didn't get the time to do it, and like, I have a lot of respect for people that have those channels because it is a lot of work. But I would love to at least make some videos like that one day, and hopefully stream from it as well. Meet Kevin does stream somehow from his Tesla car. You got to try it. All right, I'm going to figure out how to try. But I also need to figure out how to get the sunglasses on or whatever needs to be done to get the freaking thing to not freak out every time you look away, dude. Like I remember I was driving by some mountains the other week, and I was looking outside. I was looking at the greenery. I like looking at the mountains. And then I come back and it's like flashing me a warning saying, hey, you're not paying attention. And I'm like, yo, chill out, bro. Like, I pay $99 a month for a reason, and that's for you to do the driving. And like, I get it. I'm not on my phone, but for me to look out the window for a second and for you to get upset. The newest version is a little bit looser. Okay, well, hopefully. This is why I can't wait till we have unsupervised, bro. Maybe it's going to take another year or two. I mean, Elon's saying it. Well, unsupervised is it's not a year or two. I mean, in Austin, we're literally getting unsupervised in a couple of weeks, right? It's just, I don't know if that's going to be widespread to lots and lots of people. But when we get unsupervised, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And hopefully there's just not that many accidents, because there will be some accidents, but hopefully it's not enough to get people to be afraid of it. And we'll have the neural nets that, continue to usher us into a new era when it comes to FSD. I think by the end of the year, we'll get unsupervised in a lot of different modes, like in highway. That would be interesting, right? Because when you stop at a red light, you can look at your phone. Like when I'm on a red light and I'm on FSD, I can look at my phone and it won't get mad at all. But as soon as it turns green and I'm still on my phone, then it'll get upset. So there are different modes inside the car where it like chills out. And if it could chill out on the highway, if I'm driving 70 miles straight and like, want to check my Twitter, then, I should be able to, theoretically. Do you think Elon is unsupervised on his car already? There is no way he doesn't have the latest version with the best type of FSD. There's like no way. Now, granted, Elon probably doesn't even drive, though. Elon has a driver, even though Yeah, I doubt Elon drives every day. He probably has someone pick him up and everything. But I would imagine that he has the unsupervised version. It's just way cooler, bro. It's just way cooler. Lowat, thank you for the $5 super chat. The holes in the back of your chair are driving me crazy. Get a new chair, bro. What holes? What are you talking about? Those aren't holes. Those are just like little, you know, little rips in the. Dude, I don't know how long I've had this chair. It's been a while. You guys should see that. Yo, you guys should see the chair from this angle. Like the chair on the bottom. You guys wouldn't even think it's a chair, bro. This thing has been. I think I've had this for like a decade, bro. Yeah, it's peeling. It's not a hole. It's just a little peeling. It's just a little bit of a peel. That's all. Spencer says, so y'all don't get turned on when FSD yells at you. I'm going to act like you didn't just say that, and I'm going to move on. But no, I don't turned on, bro. Oh my gosh, dude. No, I get annoyed, bro, because like I try to freaking check the weather or something, and it just like, it's like, hey, Amit, pay attention. And I'm like, I pay for you. You don't pay for, I pay for you. I put money into your freaking software and you're telling me what to do? Like, it's insane. I just can't handle it. I cannot handle it. Rubik's Cube finished when? It's probably never going to be finished, bro. I should learn how to do it though. Oh, you were asking about the thing yesterday. I didn't talk to you guys about that in the morning. The freaking the talk I gave to the kids. So yesterday it was a good talk. It was like 11 kids, so that's what I thought. I thought it'd be like 11 to 15 kids. It was on Zoom, and dude, the thing about it that I was impressed by is that these kids, like, they're just moving quick, right? So at the end, I asked if there's any question. There were a bunch of questions, but these were the three that like blew me away. Someone said, "How do you hedge in a late bull, early bear market?" Right? For those that don't get the context, I was talking to a bunch of high school kids at some like meeting that they had yesterday about like the concept of investing. And so it was like a 30-minute talk. And then kid says, how do you hedge in a late bull, early market? I'm like, I didn't even know these kids know what the words bull and bear mean in the context of stocks. Another kid says, do you sell covered calls on your portfolio? It's just like, yeah. And then another girl was like, what are covered calls? I was like, well, we don't need to, it's a financial instrument. We don't need to get into that. But one of the kids was like, hey, do you sell covered calls? And then another kid said, I have SoFi, Tesla, Palantir, and AMD in my custodial account. Do you think that's a good portfolio? And I just couldn't believe it, bro. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that these were the questions these kids actually were asking me. So there were a couple of kids that were asking very like basic questions about investing, but then there were some other kids that like, you know, I could have been talking even more advanced than I was talking based on how they were asking the questions. So I think it was good. It was 30 minutes. It was fun. I think they appreciated it. And hopefully, you know, some of them felt a little inspired at the end to be investing. But I don't think it was even about inspiring them, because these kids were already asking questions as if they knew about what it means to be an investor by talking about hedging and saying they have shares in their custodial account. And it's just like, one of the kids at Palantir, I was like, so why do you have Palantir? He was like, oh, like I know they do like data, and like data is important. I was just like, these kids are moving so quick, bro. These were 15-year-olds. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So yeah, it was fun. It was very, very fun yesterday. That's just another retail investor. Dude, these kids are going to be pumping our Hood bags for so long because they're going to get on Hood. We know it. Hood needs to get custodial accounts ASAP, because that would be great for them. But these kids are going to be putting so much money into Hood, and in 10 years when we go to sell our Hood, which realistically, dude, I don't want to sell my Hood for like the next 20 to 30 years. I really do think it's going to be one of the biggest financial companies in the world. Like, you know, those, like if you're like 70 right now or 60 right now and you bought Apple, you know, back in like 1990 or something, like when I get to that age, I want to be like, I bought Hood back in 2025. You know, and I want to see Hood as like a, who knows, maybe $700-800 billion company at that point. Like, and I want to have those shares. But the point is, these kids are going to be accelerating that growth because they're going to be ready to put that money into this platform. Yes, they will be our exit liquidity, bro. These kids will be our exit liquidity. I need someone to buy this damn stock when it's like $800. I'm not going to be buying it. I'm going to be ready to die. So someone's got to buy this shit. Let me get my money and I'm out. It's gonna be a sad day when I have to sell all my hood and Palantir, dude. I haven't thought about that day yet. Hopefully I don't get to think about that day for a long time. I feel like I'm gonna lose a part of my soul when I do that. Granted, I sell covered calls on them, so I risk selling them every week, but still, actually selling them, it's not fair. It is just gonna suck. You won't? Yeah, I might just give them to my kids. That might just play out. What else do we have? So yeah, that thing went good yesterday at the talk, and then we have the Boston trip tomorrow. And so hopefully it should be fun. Do you know why we can't sell options on joint accounts on Hood? I don't know why, but they should fix that. And they need custodial accounts like ASAP. Because all these kids probably own shares via their parents, like on Schwab or Fidelity. But if they could do it through Hood, that would be pretty fun. Did you tell them about their live stream? Yeah, I mean, dude, it's kind of hard because like I think kids care about influencers and like they like look up to that career, I guess you could say. So I told them like I have a live stream and I stream in the morning and the afternoon and stuff, but I don't think any of them really cared as much. Like no one asked me like what is it like to be a YouTuber or anything like that. So I did tell them though, talk about the markets. I mean, the biggest thing I wanted to get to them is again the concept I was talking about with Steve. It's just like how do you get obsessed with the markets? How do you get so obsessed with the idea of investing that you just want to study it day in and day out? And if you can start doing that at 15, bro, and like you really care, then by 30, it's like it's game over. Like you're just gonna be at a different level. But I don't think too many people cared about that. Okay, cool. I think that's pretty much it. Do we have anything else? I don't know. I think that's pretty much. I think we covered kind of the main headlines this morning. I don't think there's anything else going on right now. We talked about Apple, talked about the Trump tariffs, which the market didn't care about. Talked about Elon being back at Tesla, kind of more officially and not really caring about government stuff, and that's it. So all we got. That is all we got for today. So that's it. Did we do word of the day? Yeah, we had many words of the day this week. We did in the morning. It was edify, I think. The actual word of the day was hanger, which is really hangar. They didn't know you were the CEO of AK Media. Well, no, they like the guy who introduced me said I'm the CEO of AK Media, so they heard it. I don't think they cared about it, but they definitely heard it. All right, guys, I think that's it. It's a long weekend. It's a long weekend, and that is it. To be fair, they're already in a club, so I imagine they already care. That's true. I mean, they are in an investing club, so they probably do care a little bit more about investing. But they're starting young, bro. Someone said, do you sell covered calls? I'm like, what, bro? If you tried to tell me what a covered call was when I was 15, I would just not care. I would not care at all. But these kids care. So, it's exciting. It's just so exciting to see a new generation. It's really, really exciting. All right, so that's it. No Pouncer Weekly tonight because I will be on the way to Boston. No Sunday future stream because we don't have market open on Monday. And then maybe we'll have a Monday stream, potentially. But there's no market open on Monday. So the next 3 days are really going to be like chilling, I guess. I mean, like for everybody, right? Like we kind of don't have to think about stocks the next 3 days in a meaningful way. To drive is 5 hours, about 5 hours. So that's pretty much it. Remember, we did an option stream already. If you type in options 101 Amit on YouTube, it'll come on. So if you haven't seen that original 3-hour option stream, we'll do a lot more in the future. But if you haven't seen an option stream, it is on YouTube, and you can Nancy Pelosi's in the thumbnail, and so you can definitely watch that on Monday as well. 301 hopefully is coming in mid-June with Jason. We're planning it out right now, a couple different topics, but she'll be coming in mid-June. That's it. So I will see everybody on Monday or on Tuesday. Maybe a Monday stream. Can't guarantee it, but we'll see what we can do. We will definitely have a little bit of separation anxiety for the next 3 days, but regardless, should be a fun weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend, right? If I'm not, Monday's Memorial Day. So it is literally a time, at least in the States, to relax, barbecue, have fun, do go to the beach. I mean, there's all these different things that happen on Memorial Day weekend. But for everyone else internationally, we'll be back on Tuesday, and we'll get the market open. It's not Labor Day. Is it actually Labor Day? No, Labor Day is in September, but Labor Day is in September. It's not Labor Day. Even though I don't know the difference really between the two, but still. Yeah. Are we doing a Hood Weekly on Monday? Probably not, because, well, actually, no, we might. Why wouldn't we? Yeah, I'll talk to Tanner and Roy. But I think that'll be the stream on Monday. It'll be me, Tanner, and Roy. Yeah, because that's the market doesn't really need to be open for that. So most likely we will do that'll be the stream on Monday here at the end of the day. So we should be doing that. Probably not going to be streaming from Boston. I'm only there for a day and then I'm done. So won't be streaming in Boston or in FSD. But if you follow on Twitter, I will be updating every couple hours. I can't really tweet that much though, because I'm in the car. And again, you literally can't check your phone in the car because the FSD gets mad at you. But if I take any pit stops, I'll update everyone on the journey. I really don't think I'm going to have a lot of interventions. Hopefully 3 to 5 max. Farzad says 1 to 2. And if that's the case, then FSD is just getting really, really good, which, that's your bull case ultimately for Tessie. What are you going to do in the car? I'm just going to sit there and listen to like podcasts. That's it. I don't even know I don't know, dude. I'm just going. I'm going with the wind. My sister was so mad though, bro. She was so mad. She gets anxiety about this stuff, bro. She's like, what do you mean you're just driving to Boston? I'm like, I'm just driving to Boston. Like, what's the big deal? She's like, what do you mean? She's like, she's acting like I need to have like some 5-page plan about how I'm going to drive to Boston. I'm like, no, I'm just going to Boston. My mom doesn't care. My mom's like, all right, I'll see you later. My sister though, totally different. She gets a lot of anxiety about this stuff, but hopefully we'll be okay. And I will update everyone along the journey as well. All right, cool. That's it. Thank you all for being here. Fun week. S&P relatively flat. 50% tariffs, not that big of a deal. Moody's not that big of a deal. 20-year bond auction, not that big of a deal. Overall, looks like markets hopefully headed in the right direction. And with all those different hiccups we had this week for the market to kind of stay stable, I think it's pretty bullish. And now we just got to keep it going towards the latter half of the year. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back on Monday nights. Love you all. Appreciate everybody. And I'll see you guys in Boston. Whoever's there, it should be fun. I'll post a bunch of pictures from the meetup on X. And excited to see everybody in person. All right, everyone. Have a good one. See you guys on Monday. Bye, everybody.